Hello and good day to you. What if I told you that the origins of Valentine's Day is not the traditional lovey-dovey history we know, but instead a web of deceit, greed, and mysteries that go all the way to the top? My name is Bill, and well, I don't know if that's true or anything else is true. Today on episode 2 of Improbable History, we look at that so-called holiday for lovebirds, Valentine's Day. Oh, but before I forget, don't forget to tap that like and subscribe button because my YouTube overlords say so. Okay, so now back to the video. You may have heard that Valentine's Day started because the Romans wouldn't let their soldiers get married, and so a priest would marry them in secret. His name, Valentine, by the way. He, of course, was then put in prison, and he was then sending letters from prison and addressing them at the end with, "From your Valentine." Of course, he was killed. Now, that's what they want you to believe, but recent evidence that I found scouring the internet late at night has come to light to cast a doubt on this very much so-called love story. The real reason for Valentine's Day is far deeper and more terrifying than that. It all starts not with this so-called story about Saint Valentine, but 1,000 years later. When Cortez conquered Mexico, he brought along Catholic priests with him. One of those priests found a recipe that took Aztec chocolate, mixing it with Caribbean sugar, creating a super weapon that they wanted to use against the heathen Spanish to subjugate the white men coming from abroad. This recipe secreted away to the Vatican, where it lay dormant until a French Franciscan monk found the recipe. He, of course, took it back to France, being Franciscan, even though it has nothing to do with France. So anyways, he brought the recipe to France, to Paris, right before the American Revolution. It was during this time that a young Virginian named Thomas Jefferson found the recipe, quite by accident. He brought the recipe home, and with his friend James Madison, wrote the original U.S. Bill of Rights on that very parchment. Specifically, the Fourth Amendment was used. Realizing that nobody would read the original Fourth Amendment, he thought that the recipe would remain safe from foreign hands. It actually did lay undisturbed for some time. This secret weapon was to only be used by the United States and only to be used in an emergency. During the 1920s, a scientist by the name of George Washington Carver was looking for ways to help America grow more legumes, and peanuts specifically. He had heard about the secret recipe, as many had, of chocolate and sugar. But you see, the problem is with peanuts is that up until that time, everybody just ate them boiled, which if you've never had just a plain boiled peanut, that is the worst way to eat a peanut. Okay, so I'm getting away from the point. So while he was getting dressed, George Washington Carver, he was getting dressed one day to testify before Congress about the uses of peanuts. He actually found a ratty piece of paper stuck to his old flat iron. See, in those days, a flat iron, it was this big piece of metal that got hot and you used it to iron your clothes. Well, it seemed that whoever had sold the flat iron left this piece of paper stuck to it. Well, Carter, being a good guy and a good scientist, he didn't want to waste anything. He just put the paper in his pocket and went about his day to testify before Congress. As he testified before Congress, he reached into his pocket to give his speech about the importance of peanut production, only to find the Fourth Amendment. Odd, he thought. Well, but then he spoke as much as he could remember about the speech. That night, though, while he was finishing getting ready for bed, he looked at the paper and read the other side. A recipe. Odd. Well, hungry, he made the recipe rather quick. He had a little bit of a sweet tooth. Of course, while he was making the recipe, he was eating his boiled peanuts, realizing this is still the worst way to eat a peanut. But he dropped some of the peanuts in this mix of chocolate and sugar. Eureka, he thought, realizing now that peanuts were finally edible. He realized, though, this had to be some kind of secret weapon. Why, if Americans ate this every day, it would destroy our waistlines. It would give us all diabetes. Unsure of what to do, he made his way home and tried not to think about it. But while he stopped through a little Pennsylvania town at a little candy shop known as Reese's. You could get lots of different kinds of candies there. Chocolate and butterscotch, chocolate and raisins, chocolate and coconut, which are all terrible, by the way. He thought he'd try giving this recipe to Mr. Reese there. He looked like a trustworthy fellow. He gave him the recipe and he said, "Listen, only use this recipe for good and not evil." Reese, realizing now that he could rule the entire world with this recipe, began to mass produce the innocent confections as cups, because little Reese cups sounds cute and nobody would, I don't know, eat them all day every day until they're ill. Not that I've ever done that. So, the true power of this confection was wielded, however, during the Second World War. You see, the Allies realized that they could bring this stuff and bring it in droves to single-handedly give the British troops the strength they needed to land in Italy, the soft underbelly of Europe. As a matter of fact, Stalin was actually given a piece of candy at the Yalta Conference, and he immediately began to think of how Soviet might could counter this addictive candy. The answer the Soviets realized was peanut butter allergies. Yes, Stalin and then the people who came after him realized that they had to create some kind of weapon, because if they didn't, capitalism would win against communism, so they had to make people allergic to peanut butter. Soon he found just the perfect place to use this bioweapon: Vietnam. Using this weapon, the Viet Cong could expose many of our troops to a chemical that would cause peanut allergies. The special Soviet agent, codenamed Orange, was tasked with making as many troops as possible allergic to peanuts, to bring down capitalism once and for all. Of course, we countered with our own Agent Orange to try to stop our troops from being allergic to peanut butter, with disastrous results. Even today, our scientists work day and night to both fight the addictive properties of peanut butter and peanut allergies. Oh, wait. What was I talking about? Oh, right, Valentine's Day. What happened there? I got a little in the weeds. Oh, right. Okay, so you see, Reese's began marketing these candies as a Valentine's Day gift to show your love. Oh, and that Flatiron salesman that had the original recipe, that would be one James Carter Sr., father of that peanut-loving Georgian, future President Jimmy Carter. So you see, when you buy love this Valentine's Day, you're really funding the vast Choco Peanut Alliance. It's a giant corporation, and they're gonna... Well, okay, now listen, I know this sounds absolutely improbable and totally zany, but have you read anything on the internet lately? Everything about this story could totally be true. Really, it could be. I didn't just read some forum late at night and come up with this, or perhaps I'm having some kind of sugar-related diabetes coma thing. No. Okay, so with that, I'd like to finally finish by thanking our sponsor, No Food. No Food is this hot new diet program. It's all the trend lately in some parts of the world. It's actually out of Venezuela, and it's a simple diet program called No Food. You see, it's easy. All you have to do is have no food every day for several weeks, and as you know, your waistline is less and less, and oh, what's that? I'm out of time. Well, until next time, this is Bill with Improbable History.